a lot of countries, a lot of economies, they are growing on fashion. So fashion is a very crucial part of their economies, be it Bangladesh, be it India, Sri Lanka. So all these growing economies, they thrive on fashion production, and is one of the most polluting industries in the world. After petroleum, I think fashion industry is creating a lot of garbage with the fast fashion trend which has come. But I think the generation which is coming, the Gen Z which is coming, they're a bit more conscious than the earlier generations, because they've been seeing the effects of pollution on environment firsthand. So Sobia, how you been doing?
Good. I actually remember being featured on Popp Dapp, and Sahil was on the cover, and much later in life, Sahil and I became friends.
So maybe you manifested that in the issue, and later on that converted into like a friendship or so. So we're really glad that we had you in the issue before, and now we are connecting face to face for this, because you have had an amazing journey. Kind of recognition that you have been getting, it's mesmerizing, because we remember seeing you in the Masaba shoot, and the kind of pictures that were out, those were mesmerizing. You were looking absolutely stunning. And after that, we researched about you, we got to know about the work that you do, and we are really glad that we can have you again on the platform. So you are a multifaceted artist. You wear so many hats, like you are educated in, you're an architect yourself, you are an artist, you are a blogger, you're a vlogger, and you do so much of like social work, you connect for so many causes. So how do you manage all these things? That is one. And then, is there like a common thread in all of these works that you do?
Everything in the world connects me, whether it's good or bad. I don't think of it as separate hats. I just think I'm very good at organizing my time. But other than that, I think at the heart of it and the core of it, it's all the same. I I think it's just a creative process and an outlet that I get to express myself in. I don't like personally. I don't think I share my emotions a lot. So I think this is my only channel to express myself. And I think at the moment, like obviously we have access to everything. Um, I feel like we're kind of losing our connection with ourselves, and I think these things truly keep me grounded to who I am, especially art. Um, it's something I've always pursued from when I was a child, and I think creativity is something that I will always probably chase. Even if I don't feel like my best, I think that's what really cheers me up. So I don't wear those different hats. I think it's part of me just being me. And so they're basically, I would say, it's the same tapestry, it's just different trends that build it all as one.
Absolutely. So that is so beautiful, Sobia. So, you talked about your artistic side. So, I think people who are artistically inclined, they have a source of inspiration all the time. But of course, that source changes every now and then. So, what fuels you as a person? What is the constant in your life that fuels you, that, you get your creative juices running because of that? So, what is that one thing in your life?
I think the biggest source of inspiration is always people. I think that, I mean, art is created by people, and then you are inspired so much by most of them. I also would like to add nature. I think animals, living beings in general, just add so much context to whatever we're creating. I think being a part of this planet and just coexisting, I think everything work as a source of inspiration. I mean, obviously, while I'm traveling, it's a lot more diverse. I feel like because I am changing my position of where I'm being, so that's different landscapes, different artists, different types of arts. That I think keeps my creative juices running the most. But I think inspiration can be drawn from anything. Even if I'm home, I feel like I love spending so much time alone because there's just so much that I can explore within because of all the things that I've been seeing throughout. So yeah, I think obviously there are blocks on some days and you don't feel like doing any of this. But I think in general, I think it's other pieces of art that inspire me.
See, so I think that is so beautiful because I think you've talked about, nature, connecting to things around us, and sustainability is like the real flex right now. So I don't know how many people truly, stand up for that, but we see a lot of, people holding up the flag of sustainability and, we need to go green, and governments are also spending so much of money on that. And we have seen a lot of content on your page wherein you support the brands who are very conscious about the way that they create products. You yourself talk a lot about sustainability and how we need to be conscious about our efforts as well. So is this a conscious effort from your end, or it comes from the fact that a lot of people are talking about these days? So we as an individual, and since you're an influencer yourself, so people listen to you, people look up to you. So which side is more dominant on you?
So with sustainability, I don't think I do a great job, but I try my best to. I have to say, I think I've actually seen it from a very young age, especially growing up in Bangladesh. And I think it's very interesting because I remember being in grade 10 and we had a subject called environmental science. And I took it. And my teacher used to say, it's very interesting because this is a subject I teach, but you guys have been doing it for years. So I think what it is culturally, I think when we talk about this part of the world, sustainability was not a trend. It was just the way of being because there was the overconsumption did not exist. It was not as big of a problem. Now we have access to everything, and that is what is actually turning into a trend, right? Because we're putting plastic in everything that maybe we don't need to into our bodies. We have like plastic all. We've been eating it, we've been breathing it. So I feel like the practices we had, even 2 generations back, like our grandmothers, mothers, maybe they had more access to like all these consumerism, like getting into the whole plastic era, mass-produced things. But I think culturally, sustainability was not just a trend; it was just the way of being. Maybe the scarcity of just access to things did that, but it was a safer and a more conscious way of living. Like for me, one of my favorite stitches is mochika, and I always say this: it's one of my favorite types of stitching that Bangladesh has and India does as well, and I'm sure Pakistan, anywhere around this Asian continent, I think there's a lot of that. And what I love so much about mochika is originally it was saris that were then turned repurposed into blankets for children. And the beauty of that is that it was used to its last thread, and it was of good quality. It still lasts you till date. And so I think to be conscious of things that will run a lifetime is a lot more important than using sustainability as a trend. Another thing I notice is when we're seeing PR, there's so much packaging, even if it's paper or whatever it is, and I never it never clicked to me till one of my friends told me, do you realize that one bag has like 3 layers of packaging? Why do you think you need it? Because it's just coming from one store to house, right? It's not even being like shipped from somewhere. So I think with the whole tag of sustainability, a lot of it is greenwashing, and I think the bigger companies have done that and been called out, like H&M, Zara. They say they have this whole green, like I don't know, like a version of it. It's just greenwashing, and ultimately that's not helping anyone because it's still going back to the root problem of overconsumption, and especially because this is the country that I live in, always making garments. I've gone and seen how much trash is produced, and it's then thrown into landfills that are not going to affect me or you. People who already suffer from having access to clean water, clean food and stuff like that. So I feel like the consequences of what we are consuming is being paid by people who don't have a say or are not doing any of that damage to the. So with that, I think I try to be conscious. I don't think I'm very successful at it, both with buildings and products and like with clothes or whatever it is. I always say that I don't want to accept PR packages that I will not use because I just think it's a waste and I don't want to get onto like the hoarding habit of storing things that I don't need.
You're absolutely right, Sobia, because the growing economies, the growing countries, for them sustainability is not something which is very fancy. It comes naturally to them because that is the way of living that they have been growing up on. And I think the whole world is slowly catching up to it. And I think it's no more just a lifestyle choice. It's a necessity right now. A lot of countries, a lot of economies, they are growing on fashion. So fashion is a very crucial part of their economies, be it Bangladesh, be it India, Sri Lanka. So all these growing economies, they thrive on fashion production, and it's one of the most polluting industries in the world. After petroleum, I think fashion industry is creating a lot of garbage. They with the fast fashion trend which has come. But I think the generation which is coming, the Gen Z which is coming, they're a bit more conscious than the earlier generations because they've been seeing the effects of pollution on environment firsthand. Because the kind of rains that we are seeing, the kind of floods that we are seeing, it's not natural. None of this is natural. So the global warming is there in front of our eyes. So now that we've talked about fashion industry and you are an eminent part of it, your whole personality is the fashion speaks louder than your personality because you have an inherent sense of style. Yeah, because the kind of pictures that we see, the kind of videos that we see, it's nothing is made up. I think it comes very naturally to you. So, if I may ask you, where do you get your, sense of style from? So, do you follow some, magazines or some, brands for that matter, or it comes naturally to you as we see it?
I think it's very interesting. A lot of my, like, say, Indian Bangladeshi wear is a lot of my mom's pictures from when she was younger. A lot of the fashion is like probably what she was wearing in the 80s. And, I always say that, paranda is not something that Bangladeshi would wear. I think it's something very Punjabi. And her pictures were always with like a long braid, with like a paranda, with a sari. You would usually see it with the salwar suit and stuff like that. So for Desi inspiration, I definitely think I look at the older images of like my mother and actresses in general. I think I grew up seeing all the magazines that like my aunts collected, and I would see Rekha, and she just had like her own style forever. So I always thought it was so interesting how she dressed even back then. I still actually think I have one of those magazines that I think played a crucial role. And yeah, I think a lot of that comes from that. And when it comes to Western fashion, I think a lot of inspiration from daily life. I think it's also like sometimes I feel like dressing up like a fruit or the color palettes are so dependent on maybe like something architectural I've seen.
And we can see that it's very evident in your styling. Apart from the brand campaigns that you do, if you're dressing up for yourself, a lot of that comes from your architectural background. Because there's a symmetry in that. The color coordinations that you do, the kind of the silhouettes that you wear. I think your architectural background plus your artistic insight, it's the amalgamation of both of these things. So that is that's very interesting and very soothing for the eyes to see as well. So kudos to that, Sobia.
So what's really interesting is in architecture school, after a certain point, no one wears color. And I remember this so much because we would just show up to class and it's just a scale of black to gray and nothing else. Everyone, like anything between black and gray, like navy blue and whatnot. And then it just becomes really depressing after a point. So then I decided I would only wear colors. And this is in architecture school. So many of my friends would say, how do you have like such matching coordinated like shoes and bags? And then I was like, I don't. They're just color palettes and somehow I understand it. So it just makes it easier for me to match and coordinate. And I think it's a lot of dopamine dressing. Now that's a new term that I learned, but one of my friends used.
So I think it's required right now because now that we've talked about it, the way we dress up, the way we look, I think it has a lot to do with the kind of implication it has on our mental health. And I think keeping your mental health in check is one of the primary things that we need to do in the world that we are living in. Everywhere we see chaos around us. So that's something which I wanted to ask you, that what do you do to keep your mental health intact? So what fuels your mental appetite? Because see, physically we can see you're smiling all the time, but what goes inside that beautiful brain of yours?
So what I try doing a lot is reflecting. I think that's something I used to do when I was much younger. And it's really interesting because it keeps coming back to me in different forms. But I do use a lot of self-help like journals because they help by giving you a prompt. And even if you can't think of anything, I think just that little question helps you kind of let out all your thoughts. And I think that is so important. Even when I'm working out, maybe not when I am like doing it on ground, but when I'm swimming, I think I've done this all my life. I just let all my thoughts out while I'm swimming. So that has always helped me.
That is very helpful, Sobia. I think every one of us these days we've become so comfortable about talking about our mental health. What do we do to keep that in check? And I think more of this is required because in earlier like in 90s and 2000s it was like a big hoopla that we cannot talk about these things. It was a hush hush subject, and now that we are discussing about this openly, and it's very normal for us these days. I think just that fact has given so much of ease to the people who are actually battling this. And I think a lot of us are going through that. It's not a niche which very few people are facing. It's every one of us in our life. We are going through something or the other. And I think the way that you talked about self-reflection and just journaling our thoughts, just write down what you're thinking. So these are the 2 points which I think if a normal person can incorporate in his or her life, it will give him or her a lot of clarity in their thoughts. And I think it's a very beautiful thing. So Sophia, what is happening in life? So what's coming in the future? What are you currently doing?
I remember I was in my second year, and my dad is also an architect, so he took me to see all of Jeffrey Bawa's work around Sri Lanka. So that was around 2013. So it's been a long time, and I'm sure Sri Lanka has changed a lot since then. So I'm really excited to go do it again as an older adult and all alone.
So Sophia, how have you evolved in all these years? Since your childhood, then your graduation, then now that you have become like an influencer, big influencer right now, where people are looking up to you for a lot of things, not just fashion, but a lot of things, just a way to live life. So how have you evolved as a person, and what changes do you see in yourself that you think you want to keep up in the future as well? And what are the things that you want to change right now and probably grow into a better person in the future?
I think, I used to think for a long time, like a certain block of my life, I thought, I didn't change much over time. And I think maybe I did or maybe I didn't, I don't know. But like, I feel like with myself now, I see myself changing for the good or bad, I don't know. But I feel like there is a change every few days. And that I don't think was, or maybe I just didn't reflect on it. I don't know. All of that. But I do feel like, I keep changing as a person. I mean, the core of who I am is still the same. But I think there's so many different areas where I keep changing my perspective about. I think it's also having access to everything, like on your screen. I think that also kind of changes how you view the world. And while it's good, I feel like it can also take a really bad toll on your mental health. I don't think you have to know about every war on earth or like, every crisis that is going on every few hours, minutes, seconds, whatever it is. I think like I would like to distance myself from the screen. I know that's what my work is based on, but the truth is I think it's a very unhealthy addiction. And I think I was very good at battling that in the past. I don't know if I'm falling into the trap of staring at my screen all over again. But I think, I think it's a bit problematic because I think we start losing connection to reality and also our relationships. And I think that's one of the major differences that, how in the 90s you were saying they don't talk about depression. It was such a taboo topic because we were a lot more communal. I don't think we're as communal anymore. I think the whole idea of a community is kind of dissolved, and that is also a major problem because we can't. There's a burden of not being able to share, right?
Absolutely. Yes, so and I think we are in this tornado of AI, which is there around us, whether we accept it or not, it's going to be our future. So like the way you talked about it, like we used to have human connect earlier, and I think a lot of that, was dependent on it, like how beautifully we connect to other people, and I think that gave the charm to our life. So how much of AI and VR and now generative AI is coming? So I don't think we would be able to differentiate between a real content and an AI generated content in the coming future. So how much of that you are accepting and you are trying to incorporate in your work as well? So are you have you jumped onto the bandwagon, or are you still trying to push it back and just stay connected to the personal connect with people? So how are you digesting?
So immediately when someone has used it. So that really bothers me as well. So I don't trust it fully. Also, they can completely misconstrue like whatever message you're trying to say. I think that can be fixed over time and whatnot, I'm sure. But I know what you're talking about with videos because there are so many that I would believe. I know, like, our parents definitely believe so many of the AI videos they see every day on WhatsApp. So I think I think we're probably just more used to it, so we can tell what is AI and we can tell what is not. But sometimes even that becomes hard. Um, I think so many creators make so many things with AI, and I think it's very, very fascinating. Like, like a lot of the history lessons that you can learn from these videos.
Whatever you're getting into, it'll be like a huge thing for you in the coming future. We wish you all the best from our end. You're already doing such a nice work because the kind of energy that you have, the kind of aura that you have, it's so intoxicating for in a good way. You know,
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
cannot believe that we're talking for the first time.
So, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely, Sophia. So thank you so much for coming to our platform, and we are so glad to have you with us.